Okay, we are live. So, something different for you people that are listening in. Thank you for joining us. And we've got some new faces here today. Don't boo them too much. Obviously, we're playing first tomorrow. So, I'll bring in some friends, for word and Tobs. What's going on, boys? You all right?
All good, man. All good. Appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. And of course, my boys, Pete, Marv, you too good?
Yeah, all good, man. All good.
All good.
Awesome. Right, first things first. So, how many goals are you gonna lose by tomorrow, boys?
You're confident, you know.
I know Marina doesn't do too well up our neck of the woods, so I'm just out
You've
there
only got one win in your last five, and that was against what? Bottom side Bournemouth.
Boy, listen, we still pumped a minute. Not many people can say that, can they?
They can't. But I don't know. I don't think it'll be I don't know. I know Jose has a hoodoo kind of going at Newcastle, but I think it'll be a tight game, an ugly game. I don't think you guys have anything to play for. That's the thing. I don't know whether your players have anything to kind of go all out for, whereas Spurs, I feel like this is kind of the perfect test for us after a game like the Derby where the team kind of raised the levels and showed, you know what, we can kind of play up to Mourinho's task. Can they now do it against the lesser sides? No disrespect, but it's one of those things where against the teams in the lower half table, we've always struggled to kind of be more open and more expansive. And I want to see what against Newcastle, we struggled to get a shot on target against Bournemouth. You guys hammered them 4-1. So now it's like we're going to Newcastle. Jose doesn't have a great record there. Can we repeat that same Arsenal formula? Because against Arsenal, I don't think the performance was that great. I think we were, you could say, a little bit lucky in that we had a mistake and a set piece, but at the end of the day, you still got to put your goals in. Do you know what I mean? So I think we've still got attacking players that can give your defenders a lot of problems, but it's a case of how we kind of come out and play.
And Tom, how are you feeling about this, bro? You echo his sentiments?
Boy, I don't echo any sentiment where Mourinho is going to drive this Spurs team to success. But I think you lot have like one or two sort of key players missing as well. So I know Jamal Lascelles, I know he's not going to be able to play. Obviously, Danny Rose, who's pretty much played most of your games this season, I mean, since the restart, he's not going to play as well. I know Isaac Hayden suspended as well. So I'm not expecting an easy game at all. Me personally, if I had to put money on it, it wouldn't be on us to win. We should win in theory. We've got the attack to win there in theory. And we have won there over the past sort of previous two seasons. But we also lost to you lot at the start of this season. And I feel like one of our biggest issues with Spurs is playing against teams that defend in a low block. And I think not only do you lot have the ability to sort of shut up shop to a decent enough effect this season, you also have players who can hurt us in transition. I'm worried about Miguel Almiron. I'm worried about Maximin as well. So yeah. I'm worried about those two players in particular. But if I had to put money on it, I think it's going to end a draw tomorrow, but I would love a win.
That's what I'd say. A 1-1 draw, I'd probably go for. I think both teams are kind of struggling to score. You guys have Joe Linton up front, who's struggled. I think one of his only 2 goals was against us earlier in the season.
Yeah.
It kind of says.
You put that when he scored, we all thought we got a player on our hands.
That's it. Go from there.
Jeez, it's been a minute, man. But,
you know what's crazy about that goal as well, yeah. Like, in reality, like in real time, it was like it looked like a decent goal. But when you actually watch the goal in slow motion, his touch was poor, and he still had he had like an hour and a bit to spare to bring down that thing and smack it. I'm telling you this.
Sorry, listen, it's making it worse on you guys. The fact that you're saying he had that hour. Where were they? They were not existing.
So if we defend like that again, we're not going to win.
When that game for me was the beginning sign of I was like, do you know what? This Poch era might actually be over. That game and the Leicester one, I think, came back to back and killers.
Well, we'll get on to Poch in a bit. I'm going to get the Toon Boys in. So, Pete, Mark, yeah, how are we going to attack this game? Because I'm a bit nervous. I know I was giving it the bigger at the start, but that's just me. But really and truly now, if I think about it, like, we're not on the best of form right now. So how are we going to approach this, boys?
For me, I think that this is a kind of a tipping point for Newcastle in this restart. because everyone's talking about how much of a good restart we've had, but actually we've lost 2, won 2, drawn 2. So this is the tipping point. If we go and lose tomorrow, which I believe that we will,
You think you're going to lose?
I think we'll lose. I think we'll lose tomorrow. You got to look at it from a point of view that people underestimate Jamal Lascelles as our captain, as our centre back. We are not the same without him defensively, right? And then you're coming up against Harry Kane, who's not been the best since restart. He doesn't look fit, if I'm honest. But you got Son, you got Lucas Moura, who are both fantastic players. And you're gonna the likelihood is you got Fabian Schär at the back, who we all know can't play in the back four, who's not defensively strong, good on the ball, yeah, granted, but not defensively strong. And for me, I'm worried because normally you then would have the protection of Isaac Hayden, who is injured, who probably won't play the rest of the season now. So you've lost your protection even when your best centre back's not playing, or your most influential centre back's not playing. So for me, I'm worried. I do believe there's a goal in us, because I don't particularly think that Tottenham's defence is the greatest at the moment. Although I thought they defended really well against Arsenal, if I'm honest, and kind of minimised them to many chances on goal. It took a fantastic strike by Laka to break that sort of deadlock.
2 clean sheets before Arsenal as well, by the way.
Yeah, and that's it. And that's the Mourinho way. You might not like the football, but he does ensure that he minimises the amount of attacks or sort of the sort of onslaught to your defence, and that's what he does. And I think he'll do that again, because I personally think that Mourinho is gunning for this game because he knows it's the one ground in the Premier League that he hasn't won at. And the fact that he mentioned that in his presser says to me he's up for this. Plus, you've got Europe to fight for. You guys made the point. We're not fighting for anything. I said in the last game, in that second half against Watford, we were on the beach. The guys are already planning their holidays, and it showed. I personally see us just seeing out the season now. I can't see where we're going to win in our remaining games. It might sound negative. Normally, I'm quite positive. I'm just quite negative going into these last 3 games because I don't see how Bruce, as our manager, is going to pick these boys up. I don't see it. I was looking for it against Watford, and for the first half, it was there to a certain extent. But that second half performance doesn't fill me with any confidence at all. And that's just my opinion.
Damn, I thought we had 3 team fans in here, but obviously Pete's kind of neutral, isn't he? He's sitting on the fence. Or
look, Clinton, I supported Newcastle for nearly 28 years. I've seen it. I've seen the good times. I've seen the shit times. I know, right? I like to think I've got good judgment on Newcastle and how they go. For all I know, they might turn up and win tomorrow. Who knows? But in my experience of supporting the club, I don't see how we'll win this game. And the point is that we haven't actually got a good record at St James's Park recently, as a couple of the boys said against Tottenham. We look about how we've won games; they've all been away from home. I think what the last time we won it, we beat the Spurs. Was it Demba Ba scored first game of the season? Scored the Demba Ba in Hatton Ben Arfa. That was back in the day. That was when we had a half decent team.
Anyway,
we get trumped 5-1.
Yeah, I remember that last game of the season.
Oh yeah, sorry. My bad. Yeah. No, you're right. But again, how long was that ago? 4 years ago? 4 or 5 years ago?
That was 4 years ago. Yeah, 4 years ago.
Yeah.
So, boys, talk us through some Tottenham news, because obviously we're hearing a few things. Obviously, Sergio Aurier, obviously his brother's passed away. R.I.P. to Christopher. So, talk us through some Tottenham news, like what's going on from your side of things.
So obviously you mentioned that with Sergio Aurier. Tanganga's back fit and in training now, so in all likelihood he will start tomorrow. If he doesn't play, then I imagine that maybe Jose might do something crazy and play someone like Sissoko or Gedson.
Yeah.
If he scores,
and I've been saying for a long time, I think that's probably his best position.
What, on the bench?
No, on the right flank, somewhere playing right wing back or right back, because his physical energy that he provides going forward, but he doesn't quite have the end product to play right wing either.
Yeah, I think as well.
You just want a runner.
That's it.
I think as well, he'll stick, because obviously the 4-4-2, whereas we didn't really dominate the ball and we were sort of like sitting ducks waiting for Arsenal, I think the two centre-backs played quite well, and I think the two sort of wide players in Sissoko and Moura did their defensive duties to great effect. So I think you're going to see pretty much the same 11 start again, with the exception of Sergio Aurier. I'd love to see Sessegnon come in, but I don't think it's going to happen. I'd love to see Ndombele coming at some point. I don't think that's going to happen because he's injured now, or he's injured according to
what is going on there, man? Because I tell you what, at Lyon, he was a player. He was an absolute baller at Lyon. So I don't know what's happened there.
He was, but and do you know what, with Ndombele, it's almost like the curious case, because everyone loves to say it's just Poch's Jose who's dropping him, but if everyone remembers, Poch wasn't playing him much as well.
Yeah,
he played him the early fixtures where he got a goal and an assist, and then he had a few injuries, and then he never really got back into his rhythm or found his way back in. And I think Jose just kind of picked up and thought, Jose's mentality when he comes into a new club is he waits for everyone to impress him. You've got to be doing the hard yards, running, and Ndombele doesn't have that attitude, I feel like, about him. Yeah. He doesn't feel like he's buzzing all over the place. He's more laid back. So I think they're kind of rubbing each other the wrong way behind the scenes. I don't think they're getting on. So therefore, Mourinho's thinking, do you know what? I'm getting results. I'm squeaking by. I don't need him in my team. And him and Lo Celso are kind of clashing, I think, because they're playing a similar role in Jose's system, as you would say, in a more kind of defensive one. I think he only wants kind of one creative player naturally that has the ball in midfield, and Lo Celso does that role. And Lo Celso's probably been our most consistent player second half of the season, so I don't see how Ndombele gets in. And in a sense as well, I feel like as a £65 million man, he has to prove himself as well when he plays, because when he started against Burnley in that first half, shocking. And there's been a few games where he's been subbed on, and I think last week he got subbed on. He done well, but we need to see more of that. Every time he comes on, I want to see him trying to make a difference.
But you know what? You know what I don't get with Mourinho, though. The reason why I think there's definitely something personal there, with Mourinho, is because I know he did have, because I remember he started against Arsenal, and he started against Man City, he started against Aston Villa, then he got injured against Arsenal. But Pochettino managed us for 12 league games. Out of those 12 league games, Ndombele started 7 and came on as a sub in 3 of them. So, and in those games where he came in as a sub, it was when he was returning back to injury. He started every single Champions League game under Pochettino. And the thing is, for me personally, I do agree that he has to prove himself now. But Spurs fans, I feel like they almost forget that this guy was actually putting in some half decent performances for us before his injury, before Pochettino got sacked. Like against Red Star home and away, he was easily our best player. I can list games at home v Southampton where he scored and bossed the game in the first half. Even Leicester away, the game we lost, I was there, watched it with my own 2 eyes. He actually had a good game. So this guy's had he's had quite a few good performances from us. And even when he's coming as a sub, I can list Newcastle away at Anfield when we were saying Pochettino could have started him. He came on and changed the game completely for us.
100%,
opening doors that no other player could open. And the reason why I think I want him to play is because over the past 2-3 years, with Spurs, we've had a creativity issue, and that's with Eriksen in the team. So the whole point was to get someone like Lo Celso, like Ndombele, who could work with the likes of Eriksen in the team. So now when Mourinho's playing a setup where he only wants one creative player, wait a minute, how does that help us in terms of trying to break teams down? But then
100%. These are the types of games I feel like Ndombele and Lo Celso should be playing together. Exactly. That's where you want to see, where I was saying at the beginning, we need to kind of be on the front foot and not let you guys dominate possession. This isn't the type of game where we need to sit back. We maybe have something to play for in that we could still get Europe. So if Jose said he's come out and said he wants that, play your best side then. And Ndombele, as much as Ndombele has to earn his opportunities, Jose has to also offer him those opportunities and playing him.
Yeah.
So it goes both ways for me.
I think that's our only way of winning. Is that you guys coming out and really going for it against us, because we've got the ability to hit you on the break. That's the only way that will beat you, because that's probably been your one thing, is really creating clear-cut chances. You have a lot of the ball as you guys have said, but actually creating those clear-cut chances have just not been there, and that's against the best of teams and the worst of teams, and that's where we could potentially hurt you on that counter-attack. And like I said, we've got players that can do that. I don't see us holding you off for 90 minutes. I can see you at least scoring a goal, and then our equal problem is that we don't score enough goals as it is. We've scored a few goals in lockdown, but actually that just papers over the cracks in terms of how many goals we've scored over a season. We haven't scored that many. And that's my worry. I don't think we're going to score more than you tomorrow, which is why I'm not confident.
We better not let Dwight Gale score against us tomorrow, because
he's one of the guys that will score, you know. He's looking dangerous at the moment. Looking dangerous at the moment.
Didn't he score last week?
Yeah, he's got 3 goals since the restart.
More than Joe Linton in what, 6 games?
Wow.
Joe Linton's got in a whole season.
Not treating our time down, man. Come on, man.
What's your lot's thoughts on Joe Linton as a record signing so far?
Dead. No way. He's not worth 40 mil. Not worth 40 mil at all.
But the thing is that
you see something in him?
What it is for me is I don't get why they even broke the record. The thing is, his highest tally, I think, before he came was 8 league goals. So for me, when you guys went and broke the record for him at Hoffenheim, he was more like a workhorse type striker, almost like a Mikel Antonio. And when I heard 40 million being broken, I didn't see why exactly. And for me, it's kind of turned out how I thought it'd be. But I mean, at the start of the season, when he came in, what did you guys think? Did you think we've got our number 9 Brazilian? Here we go, because he looks like the Hulk as well. So you think maybe you know what?
I was never gassed about him.
I'd never seen him play. I'll be honest. I'd never heard of him straight up.
Yeah.
Well, the worry is that Hoffenheim came out when he was on the verge of signing, and the first thing they said is that they were absolutely shocked that we'd actually bid 40 million for him, because they were convinced, even as a club, although they rated him as a player, he wasn't even worth half of that, and that was their opinion before the deal was even done. So that was the question marks. Now you watch his best bits, you see some performances from him. I watched him a couple of times in German football, and he played on the left-hand side. So it was signing him as a target man, as a replacement for Rondon, who was an absolute monster for us the season before. You're thinking, is this really going to work? And you know, he scored a few goals in pre-season, so people were thinking, oh, once he settles in, he may start well. But it was quite early on into the actual season that you realised that he is nowhere near a 40 million.
I really
player.
couldn't understand why you guys just didn't go and get Rondon in the end. I mean, where did he end up?
Yeah, as well.
The reason why we didn't get him,
He had his best,
and
you didn't sign him. I don't understand that.
Yeah,
because we got a policy under Ashley. Players over the age of 26, we only give them 2-year contracts or something like that. We don't. Yeah, if you're over 26, then that's Ashley's policy.
Don't you put that in at 30? Surely.
Yeah, that's bizarre.
Ashley's policy is we don't sign anybody over 30. That's his policy. That's always been his policy. And so with the players that we've got over 30, we've probably signed at 27, 28, 29 on short-term contracts. And that's been our biggest issue. We had Mo Diame last year, who was fantastic for us, but we weren't willing to give him a longer contract, and he wanted a longer contract. He wanted a 3-year deal. We were only willing to give him a year deal because he was over the age of 30. He wanted more because he wanted obviously security, and rightly so. So we left. And that's why we don't sign those type of players. Now, Rondon was obviously 30 at the time, and his buyout was 16.5 million, which is a steal compared to what he produced for
bargain.
us.
Because for me,
but then, go on, Marv. Sorry.
Yeah, if you're getting Andy Carroll for a year role, and like Rondon should have been bought. I don't want to like harp back to Rafa, but he was offered Joe Linton, and he just said no, he's not worth the money. And just go and get Rondon, someone ready-made, and he would have been great this season, would have fit in perfectly with ASM. And to be fair to Joe Linton, on one side, you could say the formation didn't help him before, where we were playing one up front, and he's new to the country. But then on the other side, the flip side is he's not a number 9, he's not an out-and-out striker for me. And he just, when he's playing, it's almost like a player less for me, where the attack threat just goes. I'd much rather have Gale up front. And just chances that he's had, he's missed some sitters in his time as well.
Yeah, because Fuad referenced it there as well. Because I actually thought the thing is, I thought 40 million was a crazy amount of money, but at the same time, I actually thought he was going to do okay for Newcastle, because from what I had read and from what I had watched briefly, he didn't look like the tidiest player, but he looked like a player who could be a nuisance. But the one thing I noticed was that he wasn't clinical at all. Like even when you see his goal, he'll cut scuff finishes, etc. He was never that guy who has one chance, he's gonna bag it. And I felt that when you were losing Rondon and you're losing Perez in one window, I think you needed more than Joelinton. I know you signed St. Maximin, but in terms of like someone who can actually offer a consistent goal threat, I think you needed Joelinton and someone else.
If you look at Joelinton's performances, I don't think this season, I don't think he's hit the ball clean once. If you look at any of his shots, any of his attempted shots, even his passes, he doesn't hit the ball clean at all. It's always
even against the lower league teams as well, right?
He takes too many touches. He overthinks it. It's just
Just to add to that, Mike Ashley has an affiliation with Joelinton's agency, and that was a big thing at the time. This is why that deal was already wrapped up January previous. So in Rafa Benitez's last 6 months, and the same with ASM, because I think they're both part of the same agency, which is why both players were pinpointed as players that they want to sign. Now, Mike Ashley's been well known for that. In terms of signing players that are part of his affiliation of who he's attached to business within the business world.
And what's interesting as well,
a big thing.
Do you know, you've got Andy Carroll as well. I just saw a comment there just floating up, and he's one I thought, Geordie boy coming back, like I thought he'd definitely get more minutes, especially with like Joelinton goals drying up. Why haven't we seen more of it?
It's because of fitness issues. Fitness issues.
Ah, okay.
Pete made a good point in the last video that we have, that I think in Joelinton's contract, it's stipulated that he has to play, whether it's coming off the bench or starting, because Gale's fit now. He shouldn't be playing. Like, I don't rate Mutu, but he's not getting a look in at all. It needs to be switched up a bit, because when he's playing, he's just lacked a goal threat. So, Carroll's injuries, and I think there's something in Joelinton's contract as well.
I don't think it was a weird one, Mutu's a weird one.
One second. I want to talk about two players that we both know quite well, Danny Rose and Bentaleb. Now, the Danny Rose that we've seen in the second half, pretty decent. Bentaleb, shocking. I don't know how he was with you boys, but what we're getting BTEC versions.
No, you're getting the real Bentaleb.
No,
Bentaleb down to a T. Please do not be
controversy.
Here's the thing: do not be fooled by a few long shots that he scored in the Bundesliga for Schalke. This guy is.
I blame Toby. Toby always says treat him well. He's one of
garbage.
I'm with Fuad.
Absolute garbage. What he does is he scores a few wonder goals every season for the highlight reel that make him think, "Hey, that Bentaleb's not bad."
Want those.
You play him on the pitch for 90 minutes and you see how ineffective he is. Loses the ball countless times. Tries to play these diagonals that don't exist, and you're just like, "What is wrong with it?" He thinks he's Zidane in his head, but he's not. He's really not.
You know what?
Yeah, I'm with you, man.
What I would say with Bentaleb is, I don't think he's ever sort of recaptured the form that we saw, because in Pochettino's first season,
the purple patch.
I don't care. No. In Pochettino's first season, I don't care what anyone tells me. Bentaleb was a good player for Spurs. He was a good player for Spurs. He played around 40-odd games for us that season, and I think he was unfortunate the season after that because he had an injury, a nasty injury, and then when he came back into the team, Dembele was playing out of his skin.
There you go.
He wanted game time, and as good as he was the season prior, his level was not even coming close to
I'm not going to lie, boys. There is a bit of bias on me that Dembele, for me, was arguably my favourite Spurs player. And for me,
he's one of the most underrated players. He's
one of the most important players.
You can't get the ball off him.
Absolutely.
I've never seen the guy lose
and I hated the fact that Sherwood came in and tried to be like, I'm going to pick Bentaleb out of the academy and make him, and who's the other one? Ryan Mason. I'm going to build the midfield.
Come on, Ben's left.
And then what he did was he threw out Sandro and Dembele and told them they're not good enough. I said, hold on. Nah, ever since then, Bentaleb's been on my fraud watch list. He's a fraud.
I will agree with you though.
Can you add Atsu onto that list?
Oh, big criminal Atsu.
Atsu, yeah. You lot, I feel like Mike Ashley's almost sort of like bantering with you like at times.
He is.
Atsu was like, I couldn't believe that signing. He is one of the worst fingers I've ever seen in my life. He's just a speedman. That's it.
One signing I will say though, Danny Rose since January, who you said I think has been revived at Newcastle, and I'm looking at him there, and I'm like, do you know what? His contract doesn't expire for another year. You guys don't have a signing option. We might have to bring him back for another year. I'd happily see him rather than see Ben Davies for another season.
He fell out with Mourinho.
Mourinho don't want him, man.
I know. And
I
I understand Mourinho's aspect because Danny Rose was one of the few Spurs players that was always leaking stories to the press, was always talking sideways about the club. He never really, I don't feel like, fully bought in to Spurs and felt like, I think once Kyle Walker left, he always was looking at Spurs with a side eye like, could I do more? Could I do more? And now it's kind of too late. He's just like, I just want to play football at this point. But it's good to see him enjoying his football.
He just wanted more money, though, didn't he? Because there was a few of them around that time where they were playing so well, but looking around all the other clubs around them in the top four and thinking, we're only on like half of the money or a third of the money that these boys are on. And I bet there was conversations in the England squad and all the rest of it. No doubt they would have talked about it. And he really, to be fair, Danny Rose is the one that kind of spoke out about it and made it aware to the fans and the press that it was an issue within the camp. And I think he's probably felt the force on that because he was already tied down to a pretty long deal at that point. And I think there was probably intentions that they weren't going to renew his contract or give him that extra money that he wanted purely for the fact that he's the one that spoke out about it. Because Levy don't remember though. He'll always remember those things. He never forgets.
100%.
You know what I mean? He's one of those guys. But he's done well for us, and on a cheap deal, there's talk. It's a $5 million deal. I'd take him. I've also said I want Zetro Williams as well because Zetro for me is an absolute baller.
Brilliant.
And I'd take both of them and have a fight out for the left back role, if I'm honest. But yeah, he's done okay.
In all honesty, I don't even think Jetro's his best position is at left back. I don't think defensively he's that great. I think going forward, he offers you lot something. I think if you guys play almost like Jetro in front of Danny, I think that's a brilliant left side. But then you've also got ASM and you got options out wide. You got options.
Yeah, you can play left centre. But that's the thing.
I'd play ASM on the right.
Like I think right now is a good time to play Spurs. I think basically right now Spurs are there for the taking. Harry Kane's he's not fit. Dele Alli's not there. In the last couple of seasons, Dele Alli's caused us a lot of problems. Yeah. I think like the last 2 seasons, last year and the year before, we played you lot first game this season.
Scored both times at St. James.
Yeah, exactly. So he's been a bit of a bogey player for us. So he's not there. Harry Kane's not fit. Yeah, and obviously, I'm old school. I go by stats and bogey stats. I don't know if you lot know, but we've beaten Spurs more than any other team in the league. We've lost more times to us. So I'm just going by stuff like that. Yeah.
That's why I'm not confident because in the past, I've been overly confident about beating Newcastle, and every time I get burnt. From that season when you lot were challenging for the Champions League under Pardew, I was so sure we were going to go to your ground and show you who's boss and say like, yo, we're the ones that are going to get this top 4 spot. And we let Shola Ameobi score against us. And then from then on, I was like,
the Mackham Slayer, yes.
Like I'm saying, I think it's really a good time to play you lot, man.
Seb, I was about 30% about us winning tomorrow. But after what Seb said, I'm going to 40. You raised me 10%.
You raised me 10%, right? If you look at the teams, the way you lot are lining up at the moment, if I look at your attacking plays, like Lamella's okay. And who's the other guy that plays? I wouldn't take Lamella over Sen.
You are very nice. Kane and Son up front.
Very generous by saying he's okay.
They've got Kane and Son up front there, bro.
Please remember, Lamella was supposed to be the Gareth Bale replacement.
Honestly,
yeah.
He's been there that long.
Diabolical.
So basically, this is how I compare the teams. I've heard like pundits compare. If you compare both the teams, obviously you've got like probably better players than us, but in terms of like more effective players, I think Saint Maximin will get into your team right now. If Spurs, you would take him right now in summer. He does get into
competing with Bergwijn. Maybe.
Yeah, I agree. Competing with Bergwijn.
No, he's better than him.
I don't think
he's
he's
better
better
than Bergwijn.
Listen. Bergwijn since signing in January. Oof.
You know
The
what?
boy is spicy.
He's a good player.
You know what? Saint Maximin has better approach play than Bergwijn. I feel like he's more explosive. He can beat more players, but I feel like Bergwijn's just got a bit more intelligence inside the box. I think Bergwijn
decision making. I think
he's just
a
decision maker.
Anyway, guys, I've got a question for the Spurs boys from Jonathan Young. He says, "What do you make of Winks' performance this season?"
Winks has been poor this season. There's no sugarcoating it. He's been poor, and I'm actually one of the people who defend him. But at best, he's a decent. And he's a big man now. He's 24 years old. He's not that young kid from the academy anymore. He needs to start making tangible contributions into our team instead of doing these basic five-yard passes and then coming forward to get the ball and then taking it backwards. Like it's not working anymore. And I feel like for him to actually succeed long term at this club, we need to see his passing range improve dramatically.
Is he doing what Mourinho wants him to do? Is he just doing what the manager's asking of him?
This is the same Harry Winks we've seen for the last 5-6 years. This is a player who Spurs fans like to think is going to be like a new Michael Carrick. Ball spraying into the final third. He's not even as good as Scott Parker. Like, this guy is a very, very mediocre midfielder, in my opinion. Like, he was very good at passing to the left back and right back and nothing else. Because going forward, he doesn't offer anything. And he's been in a position for the last 2 to 3 years, I think. The defensive midfield position for both Spurs and England have been up for grabs and for his to take. And he's been living off a performance against Real Madrid, I think, 2 years ago, where Spurs fans are like, oh, yeah, he played brilliantly in that big game. He did. But since then, we've seen nothing. Nothing. And what we do is we see small spurts of him where, for example, like in the weekend against Arsenal, brilliant game. Those kind of games where you need a bit of commitment, energy, legs in there. He's perfect for that. But every game starting week in, week out, I'm not having that. Harry Winks is a perfect squad player, not a starting lineup player for me.
It seems like his stats are protected slightly because of the sideways passing. It looks like his possession and his completions up there. So when England and Gareth Southgate look at that, they think, "Wow, like fantastic."
Have a deeper dive into those stats.
Play. But that's the thing. I've watched obviously Spurs play because the games have been on. And I've always wanted to see what the rave about Winks is, and I've not really seen anything that really suggests to me that he's one of those players. He reminds me a little bit of Mark Noble at West Ham.
Very much.
Because Mark Noble,
I'd say Mark Noble even has a better forward pass.
The same thing. But yeah, and he scores the odd penalty. Noble does, but Winks reminds me a lot of him. He doesn't really do too much in the game. Very much sideways or backwards passing, but nothing that really cuts the defence apart. And that's what Michael Carrick did. That's why he was so good, because he could break the lines as well as play the simple and controlling football. So that's what he needs to see now. That's what he needs to see from him.
The thing with Harry Winks is last season, I'm sure probably few out will disagree with me, but last season for me was his best ever season at Spurs, because I feel like he came into that team when Dembele, who had been one of our best players in the past 2-3 years, was on the slide, and he was offering us some new energy in midfield, because Harry Winks isn't a defensive midfielder. Harry Winks is a central midfield, and he was someone who, I know we say it all the time, but he's someone who can actually take the ball under pressure, keep it moving, and he actually moved the game quickly for us. I can cite games like Barcelona away, Inter at home, a few Champions League matches last year where he was actually a really good performer. But I don't know what is. I think we all recognize that, like he did well for us, but in terms of his skill set, it's very basic. And for you to succeed at this club, we need to expand that skill set. And this season, it's like he's gone backwards. He's got even worse, because now he's not even offering us consistently basic performances. Sometimes he's offering us some crash performances, and I feel like defensively as well, the work that Mourinho wants him to do, he's not really that good defensively. So, like Fuad said, I think for now he's a good enough squad player, but for him to even think of pushing for a starting berth regularly, he needs to up his technical quality.
It's one of the two. It's either you've got to offer something going forward with a killer pass and a final ball, or you've got to be able to defend. And at the minute, he's kind of stuck between the two, where He can't do either one to a very good level, but at the same time, you've seen no kind of real development for about 2 to 3 years. So it's we're at a point of frustration almost with Harry Winks. I feel like a lot of Spurs fans.
Agreed.
Okay, so let's move on to the man Poch. Okay, so before we get onto our take-up correspondent, Pete, I want to get your opinion, boys. Like, how good is this guy? How much do you miss him? And how good would he be in our dugout when he comes next season?
I miss him. He was he was basically like my second dad.
I can see the resemblance.
He was legit my second dad, and I think he is without a doubt the best thing to happen to our club since the Premier League even began. I think he's an amazing manager, an amazing man manager, and I think it's a big if Newcastle sign him and they back him, he's gonna fly up that table 100%.
When we sign him.
Dream on, boys. Dream on.
That I can be positive about.
I
want to sing the song. He's magic, you know.
It's nice because that song we used to sing about Musa Sissoko. And now we're singing it about Poch. I've got to be changing. We're swapping who we're singing that song about.
That's another one that did us over with that Sissoko deal. He gives you a 0 out of 10 season, and you sell him to us for 30 million, and we're the only mugs stupid enough to pay.
Do you know why we bought him?
Euros.
It was the Euros. The Euros for the finals.
Remember Ellard's youth in the World Cup?
It was
international competitions.
One good game for Euros.
That's our stupid board, mate. I'm telling you.
He was the one player we were not bothered about leaving the club. Ronaldo, yes. Even Janmat we were gutted about. Tovan we were gutted about because we knew there was potential there. Yeah. And when Musa Sissoko come back and it talked about 30 million, we were like
30 mil, mate.
Not even a double take, it was a triple take. Like,
you bit our hands
paid 1.5 mil for him.
Do you want us to drive in there? We'll
paid 1.5 mil for him, you know that.
I know.
But just to go back on that, Poch, I agree with that sentiment, honestly. Like, for me, the best thing, as you said, since the Premier League era started, I don't think Spurs had European qualification since, 89? And he went and got that 4 years on the bounce, like, within a limited budget, whilst developing... Yeah, I meant back-to-back qualification, sorry. He hadn't got that. No, we hadn't got that since 89. And he'd kind of made that kind of a regular thing over the last couple of years to the point now where we're missing out. It's like, oh, Spurs are missing out Champions League football. Like, he made a Champions League final a realistic thing. Like, he made Harry Kane a world-class striker. Like, he brought Dele Alli from League 2, turned him into an actual Premier League player. Like, he grew. Trippier brought him from Burnley. Like, we didn't miss Kyle Walker for the first season. He left 50 million. We thought, hey, good deal. So it was like, Poch really epitomized kind of like where Spurs had come as a club almost. So when it was kind of like cut short for me, it was a bit, whoa, as a surreal moment almost, like, is this really actually happening? Because I know Levy's always been ruthless historically, but I thought with Poch, they built so much. And the fact that he had kind of given the board a lot of leeway in the fact of they didn't spend or back him or anything for years, I thought surely they would have the same patience with him when results were going the other way. But I think once we lost the Champions League and results, as I said earlier, once we lost to Newcastle at home, once we lost to Leicester, it was like, and then the Bayern embarrassment happened. It was like, hold on, I think he's lost the dressing room here type of thing. So as much as a lot of Spurs fans have rose-tinted glasses on for Poch's entire reign, in the back end, it was really starting to get ugly. I don't think we won in our last, God knows how many, 6 or 7 games he was managing. So we were struggling to score goals. I would have loved to personally let him see the end of the season, no matter how bad it got, because I don't think we would have got relegated, and that's my main concern. But I would have at least let him see to the end of the season, because I know Jose would have still been available. And Jose was happy being a Sky Sports pundit. He was in no rush to take any job, so I felt like he would have still been available. Had you wanted to sack Poch then you could say it, but at least give him the January.
I just think
he sorry, go on.
Go on, Pete. Go on.
I was just going to say he deserved to at least be given the end of the season for the job that he's done at the club. Exactly what you boys are saying, and I was really surprised when they let him go as early as they did, because I don't know what you guys think, but you could tell after the Champions League final, with like the likes of Trippier going, and one or two others getting on. You got Vertonghen, you got Alderweireld, which was loads of question marks about their contracts. You got Dele Alli that was out of form. This period for Tottenham, it's like a semi-transitional period, in that new players need to come and develop. That are already existing in the squad, younger players.
But something he echoed as well.
Transition that were new players, and that's the thing.
For a whole year,
that
he was
time
saying
to
that.
rebuild. He needed to rebuild. He had 2 or 3 or 4 years of success building those players up, and then he needed to rebuild and go again. Yeah. And he wasn't given that opportunity. And I think that was the really harsh side of it, that they just kind of got rid. And I think it's because Levy's watching Sky Sports and seeing Mourinho in the studios saying that he's desperate to get back into football, and I think that's made his decision for him. But I'm quite happy that we were part of that downfall that's enabled Posh to get sacked, because then when we take him over, it's come full circle. And the plan's worked. The plan has worked. You know what I mean? So I'm happy about
shit.
You know what the best thing about him, I feel like, because me and my friends were discussing this as well, like, if you lot actually get it right, like, you lot could do some serious damage with Pochettino, because it's not just hiring him, it's getting the necessary sort of football infrastructure behind the scenes in place as well, because he is someone who's always been able to make lemonade out of lemons. He will get the best out of some of your most inconsistent players. He'll find a way to squeeze something out of those players. So when you have that quality,
and the youth system as well,
as well,
so
the youth, and then you give him some money to throw at bolstering the team as well. The possibilities are limitless for him, man.
Potentially with the Saudi owners as well, because they will look to spend a hell of a lot of money, and he won't have the reins tightened like he has at Tottenham under Levy. He'll be allowed to sign the players that he wanted, and that was, I think there was always some discrepancy about, particularly. I'm trying to think back. There was a few signings that he's made, or the club have made, that he hasn't 100% been behind. Whereas
one of them,
Janssen,
Sissoko,
he wanted Ronaldo, not Sissoko. Ridiculous.
Yeah. So that's the thing. So under a regime that are going to give him the license to be able to sign the players that he wants, I think that will only make him even more effective as a manager, and obviously taking the club forward. It's just, for me, it's just whether he wants the project, because he's.
Would you not think about?
Sorry, go on.
No, would you not think about Harry Kane's future? I heard they've been talking about it for a while now. He needs to be winning stuff. Like, do you believe, is he at that age? Like, is he approaching 28? Is he getting to that age where
he's 26, turning 27?
Yeah. He's gone next summer, man. He's gone next summer for sure. 100%. He's gone.
He's in the England squad, and he probably looks at his teammates in the England squad, like Sterling and all that, all the Liverpool players. He sees them winning trophies. I'm sure he's on good money though.
And I don't blame him. I don't blame him for looking at.
He's on good money, but
you look at his stats. He's putting up the numbers. He's scoring the goals. He's his international record, Champions League record, Premier League record. No matter where it is, Harry Kane is putting up the numbers. Yeah. So when you're performing to that ability, but your club in particular is not surrounding you with enough talent to succeed, I'm sorry, you have to start looking elsewhere. A player of his talent and his capability deserves to win silverware.
But also, isn't he like the last couple of seasons? He's had like niggly injuries. Doesn't he miss like at least three months a season and stuff like that?
And that's another thing that makes him consider.
Could he possibly be losing a yard of pace?
But he's thinking to himself now, my career might not be as long.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I don't think he relied on the pace, to be honest. But
yeah, he's
an intelligent baller.
He is intelligent.
Yeah.
It's a big feature of the Pochettino way was how we press from the front, and he was an aggressive presser from the front. And now all of a sudden he's picked up all these injuries as well. So some of them, they may have had some effect on how he plays now. Maybe he may not go full-blooded into challenges like he did before. So he may be thinking, one, I want trophies. Two, I don't want to have to work as hard to score goals or to help my team. So why not find a club where they can challenge for honours and they can simplify my role? Because really and truly, we use him for everything. We use him for playmaking. We use him for defending. We use him for
the unbelievable thing. I'll tell you what's unbelievable. I even hear some fans here, like people that don't watch, I actually hear people saying they don't rate him that much. You know,
It's weird. It's
That's
very weird.
Arsenal
some
fans.
people
man.
are like that. Some people are just weird like that. Obviously, he's a good footballer.
It's people who are looking to kind of have like the I don't know, uneducated take. I like to think the sort of Twitter hot take, I like to call it, where people are just looking for kind of retweets. For me, there's no kind of logical reason why you would not rate Harry Kane. Like his goal scoring record, and even when you watch him play, he's one of the most selfless players. He's always dropping back. The boy can play a pass that's very underrated. Like the guy buries at every opportunity, at every angle. He's a great finisher, one of the greatest in Premier League history, I would say.
Agreed.
So for me, there's no actual reason to say Harry Kane's not an elite player or anything like that. But it's just pure hatred in my honesty.
It's fancy.
He reminds me a lot of Alan Shearer. He reminds me a lot of Alan Shearer.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
I would say Alan Shearer had to turn his game into being a target man when he hit 30. Obviously, with the injuries catching up with him and all the rest of it. But before that, in his late 20s, when he was arguably at his best, he reminds me a lot of what Harry Kane has been doing in the last 4 or 5 years. He's a clinical finisher, but he can also win a ball in the air with his head. He's got a good leap, better than people would expect him to. I think you guys are right. I think there comes a point in the person's career where they start to think, right, do I want loyalty or do I want trophies? Do I want to be remembered for something? And he's not, for all the goals that he scored and all the plaudits that he's got, he hasn't got any trophies to show for it. And that might be the turning point.
Shearer's at least won a league title.
Yeah.
And
how old is Kane? Like 27, 28? 26,
27,
27,
I think.
Right, he's still got a bit of time.
Yeah, so for me, it's almost like Shearer's career in backwards, in a sense, because Shearer, by the time he'd come to Newcastle, come to the hometown club, he'd won his Premier League medals. He's got his records. He's like, do you know what? If I stay here, retire here, I don't mind. I'm just going for the target now to be the all-time scorer. With Harry Kane, he's got the numbers now. It's like, okay, I need to get some medals here. So it's almost like the next year or two, I think he's really going to look at where Spurs are going under Jose, and then it's going to be a case of, I think I might have to jump ship. And as any Spurs fan, we will just have to kind of appreciate what he's done for us and wish him all the best. In all honesty, I would hold no grudges towards him.
Agreed.
Do you know what? He could realistically beat Shearer's record. You know that because obviously Aguero's like 33 now.
He's not going to leave Premier League. I'll tell you that.
Yeah,
he's not going to leave the Premier League.
I think he will. I think he will.
United.
I think he will.
I think you have
honestly
him at Man City for 100%.
Yeah.
Do you think Levy will sell him to another Premier League club?
100%.
For stupid money.
Yeah.
I think so. As long as he makes sure they pay an arm and a leg.
If Levy can guarantee that the back end sorted, if they're paying 100 and something million, then I think they'll do it. And I think Harry Kane fits the profile striker they're looking for. He'll be what, 20? He'll be what? So he's going to turn 27 this year. So he'll be 28 next year. If they sign him for big money, they know if they simplify his role, play him as a box striker, they can get at least 4 good years out of this guy, and it's more trophies for them. So I think I can see Man City making a move for him 100%.
Toby, I've got a question for you, mate. Beats Box Dre said about Ndombele. Is he done at the club? Or would you like to see a 4-4-2 going forward?
Is he done at the club? I don't know. I think as long as this manager is here, I can't really see a positive future for him, and it's going to piss me off as well because I think Ndombele is one of the most talented players that we've ever signed at this club. I know he's had his fitness issues, but I can't ignore the talent. I just can't. But Mourinho just doesn't seem to fancy him, so I don't think it's going to end well, me personally. And would I like to see the 4-4-2 going forward? You know what? The 4-4-2 is calm because I feel like it takes some sort of pressure off Harry Kane. But I feel like that 4-4-2, similar to any sort of shape that we have on the Mourinho, it sets us up way too defensive. I know we were able to create chances against Arsenal because we sort of sat back and tried to hit them on the counter. But against a team like Newcastle, where we're going to have to be the aggressors in the game, I don't think the 4-4-2 works. And like we referred to earlier on, I feel like in our team, there isn't enough creativity coming from out wide for you to warrant playing a 4-4-2 because we need a way of breaking teams down. And when we play that 4-4-2 and we have the 2 wingers and we have the fullbacks who aren't offering us anything out wide, I think it's just going to be difficult. I'd rather have a 3-man midfield and a 4-3-3 where we have 2 creative players for a possession-based game where we can actually break teams down.
I think that's one key thing in our tactics for the last year or so has haunted both Jose and Poch, and I think has ruined a lot of results, is our fullbacks. Simple as it's. We don't have, like nowadays in the modern game, fullbacks do so much rather than just defending. They're almost like the third man run every time. And when our fullbacks can't deliver a cross consistently to one of our best strikers who's getting absolutely no service for the best part of the year when he has been fit, you're almost like a one man down every attack. So every time, as Spurs fans, I see Serge Aurier getting the ball out wide, I know this cross is not going to beat the first man. Every time I see Ben Davis, it's going out for a corner or a goal. It's not hitting your man.
Sorry, that reminds
and then
me
you've
of
got
Yedlin.
He's almost too quick. Like his brain isn't in tune with his feet. So I kind of get that. Where we're similarly frustrated like that, Aurier. It's just rash decisions every time. And I feel like with the Poch, one of the key things when his teams were successful, Walker, Danny Rose bombing up and down.
Class.
Then after that, Trippier bombing up and down. You look at Liverpool now, Trent, Robbo, how key they are. You look at Man City, their fullbacks, how key they are. Fullbacks play such a key part, and that's one area where we've been absolutely horrible for the best part of 18 months.
You know what, Fuad, you made a good point there as well, because it's not with Pochettino. One of the key reasons why we had so much, why the likes of Sonny and Co could work so well is because Kyle Walker and Danny Rose, it wasn't even like they were getting loads of assists. If you look at their numbers, it wasn't even like they're getting loads of assists, but the aggression that they had going up and down and the way they were able to stretch the game, it would make it easier for us to break opposition teams
100%.
down. Now everything is so congested. Literally, we have our only tactic is to find Aurier on the right hand side who delivers a woeful cross into the box. Otherwise, everything is so congested. And then we have a left back in Ben Davies who gets nosebleeds when he crossed the halfway line. It's just,
and that's the thing.
Yeah. And that's why we need.
And with your wingers, it's like now they're kind of more. I feel like Jose, a lot of his systems, the reason why he's setting up at Spurs like this is because he does not trust his defense to buy themselves defense. So he's like, wingers, I want you to track back. Centre mids, I want you to sit as deep to cover these defenders. And that's kind of penalizing our attack so much.
I mean, he's been doing that. To be honest, I think he's been doing that for a long time. Like I remember that famous game when he lost 2-0 to Arsenal at the Emirates, and Mkhitaryan was basically playing left back. He was playing left back.
Listen, I'm not gonna lie to you. When you look at that United squad, though, that he took over from with a mixture of Van Gaal, Moises, that team was a team going through transition over that period. And for me, I always think his United spell didn't end great, but it wasn't the worst. And I think it's overblown how bad it is for sure. For me, I think it was still semi-successful. And for me, I still hold what he did at Chelsea, Inter, and Madrid in high esteem.
Yeah, so do I. But I just don't think he's offering us what he did at Chelsea, Inter, and Real Madrid.
I don't think he has the tools. That's the thing. I think right now he's struggling with the tools. You look at the difference. Bruno Fernandes, a single player made to United. Like before that, they were calling Oli.
When you link with him,
has he had a transfer window though? Did he have a journey transfer?
And guess what? He signed Lo Celso permanently for 27 million, and he's brought in Bergwijn. The only 2 bright points at the end of the season we've had. Yeah,
but in fairness, do you think maybe those transfers were? When did he come in? January or before that?
He came in December.
No, he came in
November.
Maybe end of November. Already lined up by the club.
Possibly, you know but he hasn't even had a year for me. Usually we say Jose falls off within 3 years. He hasn't even had like a couple of windows to get his guys in or to get his system going. I feel like too often we brush him with this brush that he's just defensive and all he does is sit back. But you look back at a lot of his teams, they did win by good margins and they did play good football, but not all the time. But predominantly he might play counter-attacking football, but I'm saying Jose Mourinho is a world-class manager. Let's not get that mistaken. Spurs are not in a position to say, do you know what, we're going to sack off Jose because we've got our pick of the managers and we're going to pick Hasenhüttl from Leipzig and Matey from Ajax. And no, we're not in that position anymore. Now we've chosen Jose. I say we back him for the next year or so. Next season will be the realest judge of Jose.
But are we going to back him? The thing is, one, I disagree. I don't think he's a world-class manager. A world-class manager is someone who can adapt to every single situation. We've got this master tactician who literally plays the same way, week in, week out. The same way, the same shape, the same system, the same plays, week in, week out. How can you be a world class manager if you can't? If you can't
His
adapt?
record states it.
That's the argument.
fairness, I think
That's the
his
argument.
record states
Because
he's
what
a world
Toby's
class
saying
manager.
is right.
He's living off
So
his.
what Toby's saying is right. But Fuad's right as well. It's a weird one because
2 points can't coexist.
you cannot dismiss what he's done in his career. What he's done in his career is unbelievable. Where he's gone to clubs and been successful. But in my opinion, I don't think he's transitioned his way of managing into the modern game. And I think that's where he's losing out. And that's where a lot of fans are frustrated with him. Now, in the last few clubs he's been at, when he went back to Chelsea, Chelsea were very much a front foot attacking team. And he had to revert them back into his way of playing. And it worked for a season and won the league. But then it soon unravelled because the players didn't like playing the way he did. At Man United, the same thing happened. He went there. People were still playing for him based on his reputation, but didn't like the way he played football. They were successful in the first season, and they unravelled. I think he will have success with Tottenham, but they have to persevere with it. And you might not see the best football. In fact, you'll see some horrible football at times, but he will get you results.
But you know what?
And if you give him time.
You know what it is, Pete, though? You know what it is? I think, like, for me, everyone always says, no one wants ugly football. Listen, if we had ugly football for 38 games and they won us the league, I'm not going to complain. I don't care about all of that. But what I'm saying is that his method of football, it actually doesn't work and it doesn't get us results. That's what I'm trying to say.
No. And the thing is I can hear it from an aspect of like when
it took for us to beat him. A back pass from one of their defenders and a set piece. Come on.
No, listen, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying now next season Spurs are going to win the title because at Chelsea, he was backed heavily as well financially. I don't know if Levy's going to do that. Do you see what I'm saying? But to get us back in the top four, for me, I think the last couple of seasons, one thing we've seen in the top four races, teams in and around between sort of third and sixth will always be there till the last couple of games. Teams will always drop points and give away. It's just about being consistent for a certain period of patch. And I think Jose has that siege mentality that Spurs, I think, the one thing that has let him down time and time again for years, mentality. And that's where I feel like is Jose's biggest strong point. And I feel like he almost took over a team of losers and we brought in the biggest winner. So it's like, we've got to give this at least a year, I would say. If next season we're still playing horrid football, 8th place and trying to get to Europa League, get him out the door. I have no problem with that. But to say after 6 months, after we've been in a crisis under Poch, come on, let's give the man some time at least.
But you know what is for me, it wasn't even a case of giving him time.
Whoa! Because we're gonna give rages. Quick questions now. I want quick fire answers. No monologues or anything like that now. Okay, so quick question. First one: best player to play for Newcastle and Spurs. Okay, quick answers, please. Starting with you, Fuad.
Moussa Dembele.
For Newcastle and Spurs.
Oh, for both teams.
Yeah.
What, playing right now or
throughout all time? For me,
throughout
it's
all time.
Ginola.
Gaza for me. Gascoigne.
Yeah, Gascoigne.
Oh, Gascoigne, sorry.
Gascoigne.
I'm taking it before you pick Azza and Gaza.
For me, Big Les Ferdinand. Love Big Les, man.
Ooh.
Absolutely dangerous striker.
He was deadly.
Dangerous striker.
He was a tank.
Seb, what you saying?
Yeah, I'll go for Ginola, man.
No one saying Stephen Carr.
He was
Stephen Carr was solid, you know. Stephen Carr, for us,
Not
anyway.
for us. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, we got him on the tail end.
Once the hair was
we just came second. We didn't even have to sell him.
He did have Souness managing him. He did have Souness managing him. So.
What if
it's Kenny Dalglish.
What if they're Geordie?
Seb, Toby, come on, quick.
What if they're Geordie, but they played for Spurs but didn't play for Newcastle?
Nah, talk about that really. Man.
I'll go with Gaza as well. It was either Gaza or Ginola. I'll go with Gaza.
All right, next question. Question for the lads. Is the modern fan too obsessed with possession and pretty football like Simeone and Jose?
I believe so.
My two favorite managers, those Diego Simeone and Jose. That should tell you where I stand.
Yeah.
I'm an advocate of Jose. Like, I know a lot of people say, pretty football, this, that. And now you hear people saying, yeah, Klopp's one of the best managers of all time. Yeah, he's a good manager. He's won a Champions League in the league. But people have to remember, Klopp had a record of losing finals. I think he had lost like 6 finals in a row before that. So, me personally, yeah, I believe in style and all that. But at the end of the day, it's about the result, just making it happen, get it done. Sometimes fans are a bit too spoiled in what they want. The people who don't like Jose are Arsenal fans, isn't it? Because they're too spoiled about the tickets to football of the Arsenal era.
Toby don't like Jose.
No. What I'm saying is that I understand why people don't like him. I understand why people don't like him, but at the same time, would Guardiola or Klopp have won the Champions League with that Inter Milan team? I don't think so. And for me, it's about the result and just making it happen and get it done. That's all that matters.
You know what?
I don't think he's at a transfer window.
Whoa. Next one, because otherwise we're going debate mode. Who was the biggest failed talent, Ben Arfa or Taarabt?
Taarabt all day long.
Taarabt.
Ben Arfa.
One of the most overrated players. Oh,
Ben
Taarabt
Arfa was je ne sais quoi.
What's that?
Ben Arfa could have been dangerous.
The streets won't forget. The streets been forgetting. This guy, he's a hack, man. Overrated factor. Man.
Yes. Tell him.
For me,
I'm tired of hearing it. The streets. No, we forgot. Because you didn't do anything.
Exactly. One season in the championship.
For me, Ben Arfa could have played for the best teams in the world. If his mentality was right and he was on point. Don't get me wrong, he had a fantastic season at Newcastle. He reinvented himself at Nice. He had good moments at PSG. So he's played for some good clubs over the years, played in some big competitions. But for me, if his mentality was right, he could have been the main man for France and took France to another level internationally. And for me, there was a lot of talk when we finished 5th that season that he was good enough to play for Barcelona or whatever. I believe he could have. I believe he had the ability to play at that level. He could have played at that level if his mentality was right. For me, for that reason, he was the sort of the biggest disappointment out of everything. In comparison, Taarabt was a championship player. Let's be honest. He was much more than a championship player. But Ben Arfa had ability, but didn't see through all of that ability. He wasted 2 years at PSG, sitting in with the reserves, or even the youth team, sitting on his contract, where he could have gone off and played football and reinvented his career again. So he was the biggest letdown for me. It's a shame because his talent was limitless. It was unlimited. Sorry.
Last one. I want each person to give me a quick, and I mean quick, summary of what's going to happen tomorrow and the result prediction. Okay, we're going to start with Marv.
2-1. I'm scared of Inson. He's going to score, I think, in the first half, and then we're going to score 2 goals. I'm going to say Dwight Gale's going to get 2.
Okay, Seb?
Yeah, I think I reckon Spurs will score, but yeah, I'm confident of winning. I reckon we're going to win. I think Kane's going to have a quiet game. I think Son's going to be dangerous, but I think we're going to be able to contain him. I think it's going to be 2-1 Newcastle.
Okay, Fuad?
1-1 draw. Harry Kane scores. Saint Maximan, and then after the game we sign him up.
No.
You heard the rumors.
We'll take him. We'll take Son and Kane.
Posh won't allow it. Posh won't allow it. You won't allow it.
You got Bergwijn anyway.
Toko back.
No.
Put the video there.
What's your prediction?
Unfortunately, I'm going to say Spurs are going to win 2-1. I think it wouldn't surprise me if we score first and then Spurs come back and win the game. And for the fact that Harry Kane hasn't scored for a while, this is a perfect opportunity for him to get back on the score sheet. So I think he'll probably score the winning goal.
And last but not least, Toby?
I'm going to echo what Fuad said. I'm going for a 1-1 draw with a slight twist. I think Harry Kane's going to score first and only goal. But I think Miguel Almiron's going to score for Newcastle.
I'll take that.
Okay, right. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining me and everyone listening in. that's the end of it because we've now gone past the hour mark, surprisingly enough. But it's good conversation, good people. So yeah, let's look forward to the game tomorrow. Good luck for the rest of the season, not for tomorrow, lads.
That's a lot.
It would be nice to get you on tomorrow if you're not too busy doing your own stuff on your own channels, because we do something like this similar afterwards. So it'd be nice to kind of see how the game went, even if you do lose.
I'm free.
Yeah,
all right, cool. Say no more. All right. See you guys all tomorrow then. Enjoy the rest of your evenings and take care. Peace.
See you later, boys.
Later, boys.
Later.